It will have boobs because they're essential.
I think to anything, really.
Yes.
Welcome to Nice Ashes. Join hosts Mike and Nate for cigars and culture. Let's go beyond the smoke.
What are we smoking today, Nate?
We are smoking our last, I believe, Tatiana, the Tatiana Sweet Euphoria. And in addition to smoking this cigar, we have another, I guess, Sweet Euphoria, in at least some of the films anyway. A special guest with Bill Zebub.
Greetings.
Happy to have you with us, Bill. We're going to get our cigar lit here, but if you wanted to introduce yourself a little bit, I know you're fairly fresh off of a successful Kickstarter campaign for Age of Lead.
Yes, it is a re-edit of Santa Claus Serial Rapist. And the reason for the re-edit is the Santa Claus Serial Rapist title is misleading. It really was about the Age of Lead. In classical Greek mythology, there were ages of man, like the Silver Age, the Age of Gold, and the Age of Lead was the only age that had not passed. It had not come, it had not passed. There are no stories about it. So I thought it would be interesting. And just coincidentally, there's controversy over the Christopher Nolan bastardization of the Odyssey. But in the movie, The Age of Lead, my character says the Odyssey could never be made into a movie. But the reason was not, the controversy that I'm not going to go into that unless you want to go into that. But I've always thought, even as a child who went to the adult section of the library, why something can be vividly described in a book, but you can never see it depicted visually in a movie. And so in the Odyssey, one example I give is fallen soldiers of the other side are emasculated. Their sexual organs are cut off. Not that I want to see that in a movie, but you could never show that in a movie. And I don't know if this is true because I will never watch Christopher Nolan's Odyssey. I'm not emotionally attached to the Odyssey. I'm attached to Frankenstein emotionally, and that has never been done well. Even the movie that was called Mary Shelley's Frankenstein should have been called Mary Shelley Did Not Write This.
Yes.
But I'm finally going to make Frankenstein next year. All the preparations are made. It'll take me a while because it's very expensive, but at least I'll be true to the spirit of Frankenstein, even though I will never have the budget to make it the way I want.
Sure.
But I've waited long enough. I'm just going to do it. I might die soon, so
well, hopefully
that's the only thing I've said. Well, that's the only movie I've talked about but have not done.
Sure.
And I've talked about it ever since Peter Steele from Typo Negative. I don't know if you know who that is or was, but he was supposed to play Victor Frankenstein as well as the monster. And I'm glad that other things happened that prevented it because it would have been embarrassing to everybody involved. Sure. I was making movies on camcorder back then.
Yep.
But I've discovered Frankenstein can never be a narrative if it's to be true to the book. It's very psychological. So I'm making an art house version of it, and it will have boobs because they're essential.
I think to anything, really.
Yes. Like even drinking coffee, it would be much more pleasurable if there were boobs to watch.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm being silly. Sorry.
I'm going to petition my boss at work. You know what? I need boobs in order to do my job well.
I was wondering about the puritanical nature of Americans in general. And I wondered if it had a religious basis or whatever. And then I saw an interview with John Waters and an interview with Mink Stoll. I don't know if you know who they are.
I know John Waters,
Yeah, they were interviewed, separate interviews, but in England. And it seems that in England, it's worse. So maybe there's no point in finding the history for the current childish notion of nudity and icky things. But it's bothering me.
Yeah, I guess I did a film internship in London for a month. And what I noticed on their televisions anyway, or their tellies, as they say, was that there's a lot more nudity, but there was hardly any violence. So I think that was kind of, not nudity like there's nudity in, or what is it, Dickhole Ant Hill. Sorry.
Ant Farm Dickhole.
Ant Farm Dickhole. And there's not, it wasn't the same amount of nudity in your films that there was on the TV, but there was more on the television, at least in 2007. Than there was on American television.
Well, let me just say that I understand commercial movies and commercial sensibilities. I understand You don't want kids watching a rape scene. But if you think about it, there are children, let's say in the Middle East, who have watched their friends die or who've watched bad things happen like rapes. And they came out of it. When I was a counselor, yes, I was a counselor for schizophrenics. Well, back then it was called Axis 1. That was the classification. So major depressives were lumped into that. Yeah, maybe I better not tell that story. But I guess what I meant to say is there were people who were my clients who were sexually abused, and they also became abusers. That explains the name of my movie, Rape is a Circle, or the title of it, Rape is a Circle. Yeah. But there are people who have been molested who do not molest. And I found out that there are pedophiles who do not do anything with children. They still have the desire. And it's not something that you choose, just like people don't choose to be gay unless they're ultra conformists. So there are some things that are harmful, like pedophilia, and some things that are harmless, like homosexuality. So don't punish something that is harmless. That's the way I always looked at it. But there are pedophiles who know that it will traumatize the child. And although they still have the desires, they never act on them. And so that led to me writing a script that I'm working on. I'm not ready to film it yet, but I'm working on Dick Nocchio, who's made by a pedophile who wants him to be a real boy. That was the premise. But then I decided the movie's going to start with Geppetto knocking on the door to register as a sex offender with the neighborhood or whatever. And so other people call him Geppetophile. And Pinocchio or Dick Nocchio is going to be the surrogate. So he can act out all his fantasies on the puppet rather than on a real boy. Sure. And I also coincidentally talked to fans of slasher movies, and they say that slashers are usually Avengers. And I never saw that before because I think slashers are kind of childish. Yeah. I thought, okay, so Dick Nocchio could be an Avenger, but that's about all I want to say about it. Other than someone said, Bill, don't call the movie Dick Nocchio. It's going to sound like a porn parody. And so I said, okay, maybe I'll call it Pedophile. And the tagline is, it's a kid-friendly movie. I talk a lot, so you'll have to tell me to shut up or to reel me in.
No, it's I can go all on good. And on. I think before we get unless Mike has something.
I did. So to reel it back, I made this argument, had to have been 15 years ago to a guy. He was a Mormon, and he ended up going on a shooting rampage later. But it was about the movies and how a PG-13, you're allowed to have blood and violence, which is something that most people will never see in their life, hopefully. But you're not allowed to have tits and dick, which is something that pretty much every person on this planet sees on a routine basis.
If you have a dog, you've seen a dick. If you have a dog, you've seen a dick.
Yep. If your neighbor had a dog, like this sex is part of life. And if the dog had
sex with you, you've seen a dick.
Absolutely. It's bizarre that we are totally fine with this extraordinary level of violence that we hope people don't experience. And as you say, they're traumatic events. People go to counseling, but then you can't see some titty on screen. That's crazy to me.
Also, I don't like facade. I know that we have to wear masks in life. Like if you go on a job interview, you can't talk about masturbation. Usually they weed people like that out.
Unless it's the sperm clinic, right?
You're not a good fit for this company. But well, I've watched a lot of, shall we say, art house, for lack of a better word. I've watched the Slavic surrealists like Jan Svankmajer, Yuri Barta. And sometimes these movies were hard for me to watch because we've all been trained to expect a 3-act structure. I'm not going to explain what that is. It's just that when anything strays from that, I don't know if it's jarring, but the fun somehow leaves. Or if a movie doesn't reveal too much to you, it makes you think, then some people can't handle that. They want their hands held through the movie. I did have a point. I have early onset Alzheimer's. But laughing at myself, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we feel the same way about films in the sense that I don't want my hand to be held. And, so I was just thinking when you were talking about, and I'm pretty sure this follows the 3-act structure, but Irreversible is a French film that's told backwards.
Yes.
And that also has rape in it.
Yeah. You have no idea how many times I rewound that and jerked off. But,
yeah.
On a serious note, that was the first rape scene that I've ever seen that was disturbing. Until then, I thought that rape scenes were kinky. And part of the reason for that is you can't film a rape scene with commercial sensibilities. So in my movies, I'm not saying that I'm superior, but the alternative that I offer is the camera does not cut when you expect it to. So they're also meant to be disturbing to watch with other people. And I was very happy to hear that some people reported that. Now, I can't watch your movies with anybody else in the room.
I can tell you, Bill. Now I can't remember the name of it, but there was a movie, and Nate can remind me, but you fondled a woman in this movie for like the whole time, and it was very uncomfortable. With Dick Nato. Yeah. So you fondled this woman.
Well, we don't know it was him. Movie. There was a ski mask involved.
Somebody who was wearing a mask who had your hair and body and voice. And hands fondled a woman on a bed in a hotel room, and it was very uncomfortable to watch. So you succeeded in that.
I think that's also the character who played Patty Cake with the boobs.
Yes, that is the one.
Yes.
Yeah, I played that character, and I wore the ski mask because I ran out of money. I wasn't supposed to play that character, so I bought a fat suit on Amazon. So that's
we noticed that too.
Is that what it was? I thought it was a pillow because it looked,
go on, Bill. I'm sorry.
Again, you have to reel me in when I talk too much, but rape is common. Murder is not. Why is murder okay even for children to watch? It's on daytime TV. I'm not saying that we should watch rape all the time, but for example, in my 20s, there was a girl I wanted to date. During our courtship, she revealed that when she was 16, a friend asked her to go camping. It was just her friend, her female friend, and her friend's father, who was a pastor. Yep. The pastor sent the daughter out on an errand that would take a couple hours, and he repeatedly raped the girl I was trying to court. And I had trouble with that because that was the first time I've met someone who was raped, or so I thought. I had no idea how common it was because every woman or a girl, I guess in the 20s you call them women.
Yeah.
Well, I call them girls because, we all have childish personalities. The ones in my life anyway.
Yeah.
They all told me without exception that they had been raped, whether it was date rape or something else. And then the girl I was courting was raped 3 more times. By the way, that pastor is now a police officer. But why is something that's common? Why is something that's so common forbidden to mention on screen? Or like, how many times are you going to watch someone get stabbed or someone's throat get sliced? But a good rape scene, I know I'm making a joke out of it, but why is one thing tolerable and another thing not? I don't think violence or sex should ever be censored, at least for adult viewers. I don't mean adults like, in America, adult means porn or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not going that far, but if the story requires it, why not? Or why not show something ugly that happens? The Victorian era should have taught us what happens when humans are meant to live by an ideal. Like the ideal is impossible to ever realize. So, stop treating natural feelings as sinful or dirty or something to be ashamed of. Yes, we are lofty creatures. Some of us are. We can write poetry. We can create art and stuff like that. But even people who create art or write poetry have base desires. And I don't mean debased.
Sometimes
why not
though, but
share that?
Yeah.
But I'm not a commercial director, not saying that I look down on it. But as an indie person, I have to give what Hollywood is afraid to or never will. So
yeah. And you also get to give what you want, which we'll talk about maybe in a little bit. I did want to tell you about our introduction to your films, Bill.
Is it a horrifying story?
No, it's actually not. It's like a bromance story or something, right? So I turned 40 this year, and I decided to do an analog. I colloquially call whatever. I don't speak well. I colloquially call them. Help me, Mike.
Colloquially called it.
I don't know. So I call them shitty movies. But they're not really shitty movies. They're just B movies, or I read an article calling your movies Z movies. And, things like Sharks of the Corn, Birdemic, other films in that genre, Velocipaster. Lamageddon. And I came across some of your titles in some of these movies, and I wanted to do a physical media. I want to touch Blu-rays. I don't want to flip through streaming services and things like that. So I ordered a bunch of your Blu-rays, and we sat down and watched Dickless Zombies, Dick Nato, Jesus Was an Asshole. And then this past weekend, I watched Dickhole Ant Farm and Ass Monster. So,
oh, sorry, Ant Farm did call it an ass monster. Did you watch that on the Campy Horror Anthology? There's 4 movies on there.
Yes,
those
I did.
2 are on there. Okay,
yep. And so you could say I'm a bit smitten now with that. But we were all, how many of us were there, Mike? There were 4 of us there at the birthday bash watching. We watched 3 of them, and we all really liked them. I thought. I mean, it was a little different than what some of us expected. I kind of knew what to expect, but I don't know. I guess if I were to pick, and this is just coming from me, Dickless Zombies was the first thing that we watched of yours, and I think that's probably a pretty good entry point. That scene with that family doing the barbecue stuff and the guy using everything as like a penis. Like, I've never laughed so hard. Like, honest to God, that was the hardest I've laughed in a long time. And I think that's probably a good intro, but I think like Ass Monster might be a really good intro, or even the Dick Hole Ant Farm, because it's not as crazy as some of the other stuff maybe. But again, I don't know. I guess my question is, what do you think kind of a good entry point for people not familiar with your work to start with?
Definitely not Dickless Zombies. I hate that movie.
Do you hate that movie?
That's one of the reasons why I made a documentary called Never Make a Movie in Texas.
Sure. I pre-ordered that one, by the way, so I'm excited for that to show up.
You'll get a lot of information. And I did it knowing that I might get my ass kicked even more, but I don't care. In my magazine, when I tore apart something in a review, I let the band write a rebuttal. And the first couple of issues, they didn't write rebuttals, they wrote death threats, which I printed. And then it became known that I'll publish whatever you write back and not have the last word, because it doesn't take any bravery to have the last word in my own magazine. Just like it's not brave for me to ridicule what I suffered in Texas or ridicule Texans without me being ridiculed by Texans in the same thing. So you'll see that.
Sure.
But the reason why I made it is I also thought that it's funny how much I suffered and how stupid it is for me to still stay here. But Dickless Zombies was one of the movies where I realized I shouldn't film in Texas anymore. Every single time I film with a Texan, I want to kill myself. I also want to kill the Texan, but yeah, I'm not that kind of a person. But it was a lot of trouble. Like the Rodney, what's his name? Floyd, the guy who started all those riots.
George Floyd?
George Floyd.
Yeah, George Floyd.
Yeah, up here in Minneapolis, where I am.
Minneapolis.
Okay, so I don't want to anger any of your listeners. I just want to reveal the way I think and the way I go about things. So I heard the story, and as a martial artist, I saw the cop kneeling on George Floyd's neck. And in Aikido Jiu-Jitsu, we knock people out by cutting off the blood supply. It's a choke, and it's often deceptive because there's no pain.
Sure.
And I've knocked people out in real life in under a minute doing things like that. It's much more merciful than punching someone and knocking him out that way. But the knee on the neck was just, in case you misbehave, I'll apply pressure. But there was no pressure being applied. And if there were, he would have been out in a minute or less. That's the way the blood choke works. It's not an air choke. You could still breathe.
Yeah.
I did think that they were assholes, all the cops, for not calling for medical help, so
yeah,
that's my opinion about it. But then when all these other things surfaced, like fentanyl and blah, 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 I thought, why don't I, instead of telling people what factors to consider, just make my own depiction of it? And are you political in any way? I just want to know if you're going to hang up on me or not during this phone call.
Mike and I
hang up on you.
Mike and I talk politics all the time, and one of the things we like to talk about is, we mostly dislike both parties equally with a seething hatred, and we always tell people that it's good to listen to opinions different than your own. So even if your opinion is different than ours, we want to hear it.
Right, Bill. I'll give you an opinion on something you said. I think the reason why in media they don't show rape is because the people who are involved in Hollywood are the majority rapists, and the people who run this country are fucking rapists and probably cannibals and ball worshippers. All right? If the Epstein files are of any truth at all, right? Like, they're raping and eating kids. There's 300,000 kids that are missing from ICE custody, right? They didn't go nowhere.
Well, I know I'm part of the list where I could buy one or rent one for a day. But
are we talking ICE agents or kids? Maybe don't answer that.
Well, let me reel back into the George Floyd thing so people will want to kill me. It's just the way I think. So I'm not political. I'm one-on-one. And even though I made fun of Texans, I've met exceptions. It's just the amount of trouble that I've been into. I think that if I stay here, I'm going to get the death penalty for something. I've been banned from places. I've been kicked out of places. It's just there are some parts here that are backward, and then there are some people who are also backward. I'll leave it at that. It's just I've magically found them. Because in a population, it's very hard to consider everyone is like this. That can't possibly be true. But anyway, with the George Floyd thing, I've often had people who are extremely left or extremely right only as fictional characters in my movie, and they argue with each other. It's very fun conflict. I did find out that some people, when they watch movies with such characters, they consider the movie to be either left wing or right wing. And some people said, like, I just made the movie to show my political views. Really? Do I have multi-personal? Fuck! I don't have the multiple personality disorder. Like, there are contrasting views. How could I think both? Well, anyway, I keep going on tangents. I'm sorry about this. The George Floyd thing, I just thought about this one person I met who was ultra left. But I don't think this is a person who really processed any information. I think it was just some sort of group membership leftism.
Sure.
And so I based the character in Dickless Zombies on him, where, yeah, Dickless Zombies. The zombies were a symbol for conformists.
Yeah.
I think, whether it's right wing or left wing.
Yep.
I think that was my rule.
Yeah, it sounded like they were spewing a lot of I don't know, they were spewing right wing stuff and left wing stuff, because I think they were talking about masks and
so political talking points from the
era
in which the movie
was
made. Yeah.
See, I hate the movie so much that I didn't really think about this until just now. But anyway, in the movie, I wanted to depict that once someone started spouting political stuff, he turned into a Dickless zombie. That I was so tired of the movie that I just quit. I just filmed enough to finish it, and I quit, because that's what I did. Now I just bury things. Like, I'm sorry, I have to refilm this. But with Dickless Zombies, the very left-wing character, in real life, I asked him, would you wear blackface in a movie? And he said, yes, no problem. And on the day of filming, he had this big headband and a full beard. It wouldn't be the same thing, but at that point, I just quit. It's just like, I'm just going through the motions. I'm just going to finish this movie, and I hate everybody. I hope everybody dies. Fuck Texas. I don't want to be here. I could say so much more, but the scene that you enjoyed with the guy sticking, it was the outdoor barbecue.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a longtime supporter, Frank Kiko Montoya, who lives in Colorado, and he filmed that, or I guess a friend of his filmed that. That's all in Colorado. Sure. And that was unscripted, because I wanted found footage of people just having fun before the zombie apocalypse or whatever.
Yeah, and you had that older guy with all the tattoos too.
Yeah. I think he even introduced himself like he was talking to his cell phone as he's walking. Hi, I'm Frank, and blah, blah, blah. And I allowed a lot of fans who supported me throughout the years to submit footage. And it was supposed to be a big thing, but the movie was so disappointing to me. I should not have ever released it, but you found some enjoyment, right?
Yeah, I thought it was awesome.
Yeah. I just thought I failed.
Yeah.
I failed on all levels. I filmed, everything was a failure. I think I might remake it at some point, or I might re-release it. It's out of circulation, by the way. So whatever is out there is just, it's already been, provided to the merchants. I don't advise that as a first Zebub film, because it was just complete failure. I don't even know if the nudity was remarkable. Was it?
I thought it was great. There were naked women in it. They were wearing, the signature like stockings, and I don't even know what everything's called.
Wearing some hosiery, but it was not nearly as good as Jesus Was an Asshole. That had some straight up labia in it, which was intense for a non-pornographic film.
Okay, well,
yeah. Well, you'd have liked Dickhole Ant Farm, Mike, because there's a pierced labia in that one.
Ooh.
Let me just say, Jesus Was an Asshole was a revenge movie. So I didn't make it for any other reason than to say, fuck you.
Yep.
Am I allowed to swear on this?
Yes.
Are you going to be rated R if I... Well, anyway, bleep or no bleep. I was on a radio station in Dallas. And I got my radio show because of my history at a radio station in New Jersey, WFMU, which is known to some other radio station. As a matter of fact, I should stop saying that. Like, as a matter of opinion, I was,
Yeah.
I was at a Texas, I don't know what to call it, rock bar or whatever. And I had a flat tire. Now, the police who investigated didn't know that I was the one who caused the flat tire to happen because I drove drunk and I hit a sign that was leaning horizontally. And not only did it flatten my tire, but it broke the wheel. But I did eventually get a DUI. So, got what I deserved. I should have learned from there. Like I escaped DUI. But anyway, one passerby, as he saw me trying to change the tire, asked, "Are you Beelzebub?" And I thought it was from the movies or from my magazine. Yeah. And it was from my radio show in New Jersey. So WFMU, like many other radio stations, has the live broadcast. They also stream live, but then for a time you can download the archive or listen to the archive of the show. So if you're a very busy person but want to hear me because I'm sexy, you can do that at your leisure. But anyway, I had this radio show, and coincidentally, I was shocked, increasingly shocked, like every day, more shocked how insidious religiosity was, or I don't even know, it's like a cartoon character version of Christianity in Texas. And I can go on and on about that, but it was baffling to me that people went through life with this thick filter on whatever they saw. Like, how is that a better life? But yeah, I could talk about that more and more, but it was tormenting me because, like I said, I've been banned from places, been kicked out of places. People ask me, fuck. So on my radio show, I try to play as many titles that had Satan in it.
Sure.
As possible. I even had a medley that just had one after another, Hail Satan and things like that from songs. And so I got kicked off. That radio station had advertisers, so I don't believe in impotent rage. So if I'm angry and can do something, I'll do something. And if I'm angry and I can't do something, I want to vent the energy. Freud called it sublimation. So I take the negative energy and I put it into something creative. And so I made a movie called Jesus Was an Asshole. And I somewhat thought it would be funny to leave free DVDs or free Blu-rays as faith movies, So it wouldn't be the cover. It would just be the disc and like an envelope that says faith movie.
Yeah.
But on a sober point, we were talking about extremes like left versus right. Me subjecting a Christian to the movie was the equivalent of a Democrat giving a Republican pamphlet or being given a Republican, like, read this. So I don't know what you thought of the movie, but I just did it to expend energy. Like, it's not selling very well, probably because it's called Jesus Was an Asshole, but I'm also not promoting it. I just did it to get it out of my system. And I think that separates me from other filmmakers and is also the reason why I could have a lot more money, but I keep making these projects as a what if or just as a creative exercise. So there's no like marketing plan or, at one time I thought I'll make one good movie a year and then I'll indulge, but it's just so much fun to indulge ideas, but yeah, tell me your thoughts. And just so you know, I'm not delusional. I don't think I'm great. I know the flaws. So
sure. Well, I guess here's what I'll say. And I was going to say this about Dickless Zombies as well. But I started making films in high school and I got a degree in film in college. And I've made a couple web series. And I'm just right now in a phase of my life where I'm not doing that. And I knew nothing about audio. And the audio and all my stuff just sucks. And so I was like, why not start a podcast where that's all I have to do? Kind of, sort of, but joking. But also I did learn a lot about audio with the podcast. And I guess with filmmaking, for me, it's a very good outlet to process emotions or feelings. Like writing it and figuring out how to shoot it and editing it and all of that stuff. And I think with Dickless Zombies, you said you hated it. That one, I really liked that one. I think of Dickless Zombies, Dick Nato, and Jesus Was an Asshole. That's my favorite of those three. Like, honestly. I mean, the sauna death scene, everything. So just really enjoyable. I think that Dickhole Ant Farm and Ass Monster, like, those are probably my top two now. And I wanted to know, like, Ass Monster for me is kind of like A Mighty Wind or This Is Spinal Tap, where it seems like it's a mockumentary, but there's got to be a lot of truth to that. And one of my questions from the first three that I wrote down was, like, what's your casting process like? And then in Ass Monster, I don't know how true all of that is, but for those that don't know, Ass Monster is some people, I mean, Bill, you're playing yourself, I believe, and trying to make these horror movies to make money at conventions by selling Blu-rays, because you run into Lou Cifer, and he tells you how to make money doing these things and how to cast these actresses.
Well, Ass Monster is a special movie. It was made a long time ago, and I'm going to re-edit it. I'm the king of re-editing. But the reason for that is I'm better at color correction. Ooh, I beeped at myself. I don't know if you heard that, but I scared myself because I put my hand on the steering wheel just for support, and I heard this beep, and I thought someone was telling me, like, get out of the parking lot. But as someone who's been kicked out of places, I'm sensitive to beeps. But
sure.
Anyway, Ass Monster, I want to re-edit it just to give it the best quality it can have, both audio, visual, and also editing. The history of Ass Monster was I was still reading books on screenwriting, how to write a script. And so my very first movie, Metalheads, was a practice movie, and it got picked up. I don't want to tell the story of Metalheads, but sure. Ass Monster was another one of those practice scripts where I kept listening to the rule, use what you know, write what you know. And I was very familiar with indie film, other indie directors. And before I go into that, I want to quickly say that I learned that my anthologies, like the Campy Horror Blu-ray that has 4 movies, that has indie director, Ant Farm Dick Hole, Ass Monster, and Exploitation, people want one movie per package, or the collectors do.
Oh, sure.
And then I thought, this would be great because I can release one movie and then have a ton of behind the scenes. I never wanted to do that before because, Lord of the Rings wasn't out at the time, but I was very fond of Peter Jackson's trilogy. And when I saw the behind the scenes, when I rewatched the movie, some of the magic had gone. Just like when I saw Godzilla after, not the CGI Godzilla, the Godzilla that I loved as a kid. When I saw, this was filmed in a parking lot, they just fill all these holes with water to make it look like an ocean, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I couldn't unsee that. So I didn't want to do that to viewers. But it seems that the behind the scenes are just as entertaining as the movies themselves. But with Ass Monster, I was at a horror convention, and it was only out on Blu-ray. I'm sorry, on DVD for the longest time. And someone from Synapse, it was Don May from Synapse Films. He said that I should submit my movies to the Fantasia Film Festival. Have you ever heard of the Fantasia Film Festival?
I have.
Either of you? Well, all I heard about film festivals was that's what you do to get distribution, but I already had distribution, so why would I? But I looked into it, and I saw that it was a huge film festival, and I just wrote a letter to Mitch Davis. I don't know if he runs it or he's the chief or whatever, but I sent him a letter introducing myself, and I sent him Ass Monster with that letter. And I just said, this is what I'm doing. Maybe in 10 years, I'll be good enough to submit. And then he called and asked, when would you like us to play your movie?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so I went to Montreal.
That story.
Yeah. So I'm not going to tell the whole story, but I think that what people liked about the movie was the honesty, the truth in it. Some things were also altered. For the longest time, I just said that the characters were fictional, but Lucifer was based on an indie guy named Bill Hellfire. Have you ever heard of him?
I've not heard of Bill Hellfire.
Well, that whole scene where in the beginning, someone asked me, are you Bill from the magazine? I play a magazine guy because I was one. And so at a horror convention, Chiller Theater in New Jersey, theater is spelled the British way, the R-E, not the E-R at the end. By the way, the guy who ran it, Kevin, died 2 days ago.
Oh, I'm
Very
sorry.
strange. But once upon a time, it was a huge horror convention. And I went there to just hand out my magazine when it was free. It later became all glossy. Could not possibly be free. It's too expensive. Every page color, page glossy. But when it was newsprint with a glossy cover, it was 40,000 copies. I just handed them out. Yeah, I do remember I tried to get distribution. I think it was at Barnes & Noble, but they didn't distribute their own magazines. They had another party, one of 4 parties, and all of them were in the Bible Belt. And they didn't care about the nudity. They just didn't like the inverted crosses.
Yeah.
So, like, you know what? Nobody looks for metal magazines at Barnes & Noble anyway, so fuck you. That was just me having sour grapes.
I have a question for you, Bill, real quick.
Go ahead.
Magazine, does it still run? Is it still going? How do we get it? If it's still going, all that stuff.
Currently, it's web only grimoireofexalteddeeds.com, but there is a best of anthology on Amazon. I think it's called the best of or the worst of the Grimoire of Exalted Deeds. The problem these days is not only print, but web. If you do anything naughty, you're out, dead. So when the magazine first came out, I liked people to wonder, is he racist? Is he this? Is he an asshole? A lot of people did hunt me, but when they met me, they realized I'm a clown. I'm not this raging person. But also, that separates me from what are called the trolls. I went places and I went by myself. I had no backup. I've been jumped. But again, another tangent. Yeah, the ass monster thing, I wondered why it didn't sell. I mean, it sold, but I wondered why it didn't sell anything near to the roughies, as I call them, like the rape movies, like Forgive Me for Raping You, Rape is a Circle, Breaking Her Will, those kinds of movies. But later on, I was informed, I forgot the source, he said, although people might like independent movies, they don't want to see a story about making one. And I think he used as a reference Kevin Smith's Zack and Miri Make a Porno.
Sure.
That didn't do well, but I don't know. I just
like
remember
that one too,
watching it.
So I don't know.
Well, I remember thinking, like, why the fuck are you making a movie called Zack and Miri Make a Porno and have no nudity? That's are you
fair.
Playing a joke? It's like, hey, I'm going to make a movie about football, but it'll only have scenes about basketball. Or, if you're afraid of subject matter, don't film it.
Yep.
Film something else. It's like the old days where a couple is about to have sex, the camera pans to the fireplace. We're better than that. Like, man, you bring up so many things that fill me with rage or coffee energy. No, coffee gave me coffee energy. But with Ass Monster, did I answer your question? I feel like I'm a politician where I just tell this whole other thing and never answer the question.
Yeah, you answer the question with another question.
Well, Ass Monster is part of the Trinity. I made Indie Director after that when I bought my first HD camera, and I submitted it to Fantasia, and they said no. I forgot the reasons, but some other people who quit Fantasia said that it became too big and accepting too much. I don't know if they said corporate money, but I remember I made a movie called The Worst Horror Movie Ever Made, and a girl grew to be giant size because I was making fun of every genre. Like Attack of the 50-foot tall woman, I didn't know until I worked with models that that's some kind of kink where they get hired to just step on army soldiers and stuff like that. So I thought it would be funny not only to have a giant woman who, of course, because she grows that big, like her clothes didn't grow. So the clothes come off and she's rampaging through the city naked. And she accidentally bumps into one of the World Trade Center towers and it bumps into the other one and they fall down. But Fantasia wouldn't play it. And I asked, why? It's obviously a joke. And he said, well, believe me, you'll get bad press, we'll get bad press. And so I had a feeling that the spirit was not the same as it once was. I'm still grateful that they played Ass Monster. But Exploitation, which is on the Campy Horror disc, is my favorite because that was the one that I made in 4K. And now that I have a 12K camera, I'm thinking about making another comedy about the making of a movie.
Okay.
But I know that it'll just be a pleasure movie. Like they pretty much all were. I didn't think like, oh, I'm going to make this much money. This is the target.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any interest in watching those, but I guess because of your film school background, you might see another side. I did want to say this, tugging at the back of my mind, when you were talking about nudity, Tubi, or not to be, has an earlier metal thing that I did called Pagan Metal, a documentary. But it was shot DVD quality, and it was shot when I didn't know about color correction. I had cataracts, didn't know about audio, but they had it. And I just received notice today, so this is fresh, that it got flagged because it had a boob. So I have to re-edit it or it's going to be removed. And I wrote, there are boobs on Tubi things.
Yeah.
But I decided, you know what, just bury it. It's old anyway. If people want it, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, there are things other than Tubi, like Vimeo deleted me during the Me Too movement. Sure. Everyone was terrified, just like the Black Lives thing. If you didn't have the hashtag Black Lives on your website, you're a racist. What a scam. I should do something like that.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
Free Beelzebub's nipple or something like that.
But by the way, the hashtag also means pound, so I kept calling it Pound Me Too.
Yep.
But I didn't know that Vimeo underwent ownership changes or whatever, but during the Me Too movement, they kept saying, you have to remove content, you have to remove content. And so I removed my rape movies, and then they just deleted my entire channel. Why? Because I had a comedy called Metalheads. And there was this ridiculous scene in which one guy owed another guy money and the debt could not be repaid, but the guy had a hot girlfriend. So the hot girlfriend was told, like, here, wear this blindfold. I'm going to handcuff you and we're going to have kinky sex. But the sex was to be done by my character. And my character couldn't go through with it. Like, on the surface, I was like, yeah, all right, I'll do it. But then I couldn't. And so there was no sex, but just the idea of the trick fuck. It's like, no, you got to delete it. And they removed me. So for several years, I didn't have a Vimeo account. Then I just thought, like, wait a minute. The way things are going, there's no human saying, like, yes, you can be part of us. So I started another Vimeo channel, but I just heavily censored everything. And most movies I didn't even upload. But I just received word from them that they're deleting their video on demand content. And there's something else that might be a replacement. But from what I've seen on YouTube of people complaining about streaming and stuff like that, Vimeo once was embraced by filmmakers, and then I guess too many of them were punished, and so they fled. Well, I don't stream, so what would you suggest would be good for presenting my movies? I know my distributor works with Fossum. Like, instead of awesome, there's an F in the beginning, and some other sites. So there's legitimate streaming, but these are all censored. I thought that it would be a good selling point. Hey, you liked the streaming version, watch the Blu-ray and get the uncut version plus tons of extras. But that goes by the premise, people like my movies. I guess when people see them on tour, it's like, it's a good thing I didn't buy this.
See, I'm happy to have them. I'm especially happy to have Dickless Zombies, which you say is out of print. And so now it's like a limited edition. So that's
hold
good for
on
me.
to it. It'll gain money.
Yeah. And if we ever meet in person, that's the one I'm going to have you sign. So,
well, Minneapolis, how far do you travel for events?
I have 2 small children, so I'm pretty much homebound like an old lady, but I can get out from time to time. So
I can travel.
Mike
I will be going to Lake Michigan on Friday, so I travel. I do say, Bill, that a bit of advice, not that I personally did it, but a few years ago, YouTube went through a purge and a ton of channels with adult content. Adult meaning like firearms content, not like adult content. They went over to Pornhub. So something like a Pornhub or whatever adult service that works for you would probably be good, because they won't object to your movies, I would hope, you would think.
Well, the reason why I had a Vimeo channel and why I want something else, it's not so much to make money, but to offer movies to people who can't afford them. I mean, specifically Australia. The exchange rate for them is brutal. So, they're paying double for the movie, and then they're paying $20 for shipping when they could have something for, streaming it for $3 or downloading it for $6. So it's for people like that I had the Vimeo. And then when I have the crowdfunders, I offer the digital, and I really should stop ridiculing people for streaming because these people are supporting them. They don't have to support it. Like, if it'll be out on streaming, they don't have to participate in the Kickstarter. They're just doing it to show me support. Here I am slapping them for doing that. But it's only maybe like 5 to 10 people per Kickstarter who opt for that anyway. But, I tried something called Gumroad because that was a suggestion. I thought, like, man, this interface is boring. But I guess if people just want to download, this is good. And they deleted me, but it's not for any of the roughies like Rape is a Circle. It was for Santa Claus Serial Rapist, which I'm re-editing.
Yeah.
But it's not because of what was in the movie. It was because of the name of it. Just like Pornhub's and Clips for Sale. Like, I just looked into it. Not with any kind of seriousness, because one of the ways to rankle me is if you ask, is this porn? No. If it were sold in a porn shop, people would be furious. Why the fuck are you selling this? This isn't porn. But anyway.
Yeah.
So Gumroad deleted me, and I made a test account, either on Clips for Sale or on Pornhub. And then I got this big letter. I didn't upload anything, but it was just, these are our rules. And the rules were, you cannot show non-consensual sex or women being hurt or anything like that. I said, well, this is just a story. It's not real and it's not pornographic. And they said, nope. So when I just thought about maybe, even though I don't like the word porn, I've been approached to do porn. Not as me, because I don't think I qualify size-wise for that. But I remember reading early on, like, I didn't go to film school like you, but I remember reading early on that if you get involved in porn in any way, you're blacklisted. You're blacklisted because it's considered the easy road. That's something I read. That's not true, or it's not true
anymore.
It'd
be the hard road, don't you, Bill?
But you were going to say something like, please, if I interrupt you and I'm just speaking nonsensically, just say like, dude, I asked you a question.
You're our guest. People hear us talk all the time. They want to hear Bill this episode.
But do you stream? Do you stream?
I don't.
I'm not going to. Okay.
No, so you're asking the wrong guys. I don't watch any television of any kind. I watch films for the show, and whatever my wife decides she wants to watch, that is it.
But by the way, as an aside, I heard that the guy who directed The Cell made a movie. He made other movies, but I didn't know. And although I didn't like The Cell, I liked some of the imagery. And that director, was it Tarzan? No, I forgot his name. He made a movie called The Fall, and I heard that it's very difficult to find, and I bought it in 4K for $65, blind buy, and I can't stop thinking about it. I saw it 4 days ago.
Yeah, was this from 2006?
I don't know the year, but
Tarsem Singh. That's
movie.
A great movie.
That's the only thing that I could say about it, because I don't want to say anything else. Just go into it blindly and be amazed.
That's all I can say about it, too. But I agree with Bill.
Like, I was completely blown away. And then I found out he's the guy who made The Immortals. I'm like, that sucked. But it might not have been his fault. It's just, I hate when classical Greek mythology is bastardized or modernized or has messages. You know, like I talk about it in The Age of Lead was the name of the Kickstarter campaign, but the movie is probably going to be called The Gods Are Rapists. So if you're looking for The Age of Lead, only the funders will have that version. The world will have The Gods Are Rapists. And already I know that some people are going to say, nope, we're not going to carry it.
Yeah.
But I don't care. It's a re-edit. Might as well do it the way. I guess I'm inspired because I've watched John Waters interviews for the past 2 days. Because, when you go on YouTube and you watch something, YouTube says, oh, you want 10 times more of what you just saw. Here it is.
Yep.
I guess John Waters, he's successful. I wouldn't say that he's mainstream, but I think one of the messages from the interviews was to be who you are. So I don't think he ever stopped being John Waters, no matter how much money he got. And I'd like to be the same, but I would definitely tame things down if I had a budget or, investors. I did learn that early on from a director.
Sure. When
I still thought that maybe my ultimate goal is, I'll get known. So when I pitch a movie, people will already have heard about me. When Tower Records was around, when I approached them to carry my magazine, the acquisitions guy said, dude, the minute I opened the package and your magazine was in there, everyone went crazy. So, of course, yes, we're going to distribute the Grimoire. So I wanted the same thing to happen for movies. Like I could better pitch for a budget once I'm known. I guess before I go on for 20 minutes, I just realized that that's not my destiny. I wouldn't mind if something like that happened, and I can tone things down. But I should just still be me. I don't really need to live in a mansion or, I'm content living in a garage. All my money goes to movies.
It's got to be somewhere else.
No. But I did ultimately realize that it's good that I'm suffering because when I'm happy, I don't write.
Yeah.
So hardship. One of the Greeks said there's wisdom in strife. And so, always going back to the Greeks.
Yes. I have a piggyback off that, Bill.
Sure.
I'm talking about Ridley Scott and James Cameron's most recent films that are like 4+ hours and terrible. And these are directors that have made it, but nobody's telling them no. Like they have everything they could ever want. They can make any kind of movie they ever want. And nobody's telling them no. Nobody's putting constraints on them. Do you think having constraints, whether it's, imposed by other people or imposed by your circumstances or imposed by the state of Texas, help you make better films or tell better stories?
Well, I'll give you a real world example. I watched the movies of Yuri Barta and Jan Svankmajer just orgasming over the stop motion, the visuals. Yeah. And I didn't know that in the surrealism, there's criticism of communism and other things like that. So I thought it was very well done that I didn't perceive any of that. I just perceived wondrous visuals.
Sure.
So with me, I guess, look at music. There are 12 notes, but you usually play in a scale that's 5 to 7 notes. And that makes your writing better. there was a chromatic scale song that was very enjoyable. But anyway, the boundaries that I have are financial, and they're being steadily less severe because of AI. I know people. Well, I don't know how you feel about AI, but, it's considered lazy, blah, blah, blah. But I consider it a time saver. And
sure.
I remember in the early days of CGI, it was the same kind of protest, like almost practical effects. But I didn't see the entire movie. I think it was Alien, the guy who played Bilbo Baggins. Like, he had a severed head, and it looked so stupid. Like, I've never been fooled by a practical effect. I always go by story. Like, am I taken out of the story? But, with CGI, that's helping me because I could never, I shouldn't say I could never, but I'm not interested in the business aspect of movie making. I'm interested in the creative part. So there are a lot of movies that I made in the past that only had 1,000 copies, and it took like 5 years to sell the 1,000th one. Whereas, Breaking Her Will pretty much sold out as soon as it was replicated, $40,000 in a month. I remember the royalty statements. I thought, like, I'm going to buy a house cash. but then the axe fell. But restriction wise, I think it's good. Like, I did talk to my distributor today after I found out about Tubi that I might make a movie that either won't have boobs, or if it has boobs, they won't be sexualized. Like, they won't be touched, sucked, or what other things can you do with them?
I mean, isn't that an offense to boobs? Yeah, I mean, isn't that their purpose?
Yeah, Bill, as long as the girls are touching and sucking, what's the problem? That's,
Well, what I mean is, I just looked at IMDb parental warnings and other such things, and also being told things by merchants for having rejected stuff that, maybe as a big director, you can show nudity in a sexual situation, but other than that, good luck, especially on streaming. So I thought it was funny that Lars von Trier had, I don't know if they're A-list actors, but they're completely naked. They're doing very crazy sexual things. But that's Lars von Trier. He's got prestige. It reminded me of an episode of Bullshit where waiters were just serving tap water and just talking about their qualities and, where they were sourced. And people agreed, like, yes, this is stupendous or whatever.
The artisanal water or something from the tap.
But if I may, I didn't go to film school, so I wrote movies based on what I knew, what I thought the rules were. They were not true. And I watched a lot of television. I didn't realize that in the early days, television was regarded as stupid. If you wanted art, you watched movies. You didn't watch TV. Sure. Now there's a blur, it's all the same, like a lot of garbage, but there are a lot of good movies.
Yeah.
But the exposition, like I remember as a kid wondering, like, that villain could have fucking gone through with his plan, but he paused to tell everybody, like, by the way, my genius plan is, and then he got So there was a lot of stuff that I did that way, material wise. And in the Santa Claus Serial Rapist or Santa Claus A Horror Story, there was a lot of exposition. And one of the telltale signs of exposition is, as you know, like with two characters, not like, if you know, why am I fucking saying it? So you're saying it to the audience. Like, I really want this plot perceived by the audience, so I better make people talk about it. But also, there was this advice given by, I think it was an indie magazine, that if you don't have the budget to depict something, just refer to it in conversation. That's exposition too. So, so I'm very sensitive to it, and I remove it every time I possibly can. Also, when I heard that scenes should themselves be like a beginning, middle, and an end, scenes aren't just, like, hey, let's just hang out and learn about each other. Yeah. There's a reason for them. So in the earlier movies, they satisfied, what was necessary. I don't want to say for the plot, but for the story. But then they went out into other things. And so I'm removing all that. It's good that I finally learned, because sometimes people are blind, to their own faults. I try to always know what's wrong with what I'm doing.
Sure.
One thing that I will boast is that whenever I thought of something, I just did it. I used whatever resources I had. If I didn't have if I didn't have a crowdfunder for a movie, I'd still make it.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have a crowdfunder until 2016, and I started in 2000. So I self-financed, made a lot of movies that were terrible, didn't work. That's another problem I had, that I could have just made a test, like make 100 movies, get a random population to watch, and I guess process the data, like see if what I thought was true was true.
Yeah.
I made a movie called Scienceless Fiction that's out of circulation. I'm going to reintroduce it as the most offensive movie ever made. And I've done racial humor before. Do you mind me talking about this? I won't take more than a couple of minutes. Well, I thought that I proved, hey, you can wear blackface and it's fine. Like I went to a high school one year where I was only one of 10 white people in the entire school, not just my class. And I learned that, jokes between races, because there was more than just black people, are fine. It's just that when there's disrespect, that's when you get hit. But if you're making a joke to be funny, that's one thing. So I guess my blackface character was considered a buffoon. It was an anti-black.
Sure.
There was no hatred in the scenes. But I was watching Big Bang Theory. Have you ever seen that show? I know one of you don't watch TV.
I've seen an episode or two, but yeah.
My wife is a serial degenerate watcher of that show.
Right. Well, so was I. I have all the Blu-rays of every season, but there's an Indian character in it, and one guy imitated his accent, like, "Oh, tell me what you want to eat," or something like that. And the Indian's response was, "That's so racist, dude." And that was repeated many times, where something that wasn't even racist. Like when you're making fun of somebody, you're not trying to make the person feel better. You're trying, like when you say you're fat, that's not like, you should really lose weight. The message is like, fuck you, pig. Like when you're mad, that's the way you talk. Or when you ridicule, it's yes, it's negative energy, but it's harmless. These are words, work on it. So if you made fun of something about me, if it's true, like, if you make fun of the size of my forehead, there's really nothing I could do about it. Like maybe get a toupee or something or wear a hat. But the message, might be negative, but it's not punishable negative. That's what I'm trying to say. But in the case of like the guy talking in an Indian accent and then the response is, "That's so racist, dude." That's the end of it, really? If it were racist, that would be a chance to process, because I'm sure I've told jokes that hit harder than what my intention was. That's why when I re-edit Scienceless Fiction, I'm going to have a director's introduction and explain everything. But here's the part that you might like. There was a horror convention in Cleveland that had, like every Saturday night, I was given the prime spot, like, because I made 5 movies a year. I think I still make 5 movies a year. So they didn't even want to know what the movie was. It was the Bills Above slot, and rooms were packed. I had cultivated a fan base there. And when I played Scienceless Fiction, I just announced, listen, I thought I'd have to give a speech, but you're smart. You know me. So let's just watch the movie. So what I should have told you prior to this is that when I wrote Scienceless Fiction, I decided not to sugarcoat any joke, and I'm not going to hold the viewer's hand. Like, I'm going to give you enough information that if you choose to watch actively, you'll find out.
Yep.
Maybe the movie, when I re-edit, maybe the back of the movie should have those instructions. But So this was not like a random audience. This was an audience of fans. Within 10 minutes of the movie playing, they scattered, completely scattered. Then it played at a convention in Canada, an hour from Toronto, London, Ontario. They knew me, and I wasn't there for that weekend, but the reaction was so violent. People threw chairs at the screen. They caused so much damage. No other movie played the entire weekend. The projectionist quit.
I mean, you should put that as like the tagline, like a movie that enraged the polite Canadians so much they tore down their own theater.
Well, with the projectionist, the people who ran the convention approached him after the fact, and they gave him a copy of the movie, and they said, this is why the movie was made. They gave him information of how to watch the movie. And after that, he felt stupid for judging it. So I guess I'm good at getting a visceral reaction from people, but I'd really rather have people think about what they're watching, because again, I don't make commercial movies. Not that there's anything wrong with going to a theater and just having a great time for a couple hours, and you go there to not think. But I've watched so many movies, like The Fall. I'm going to watch again. I can't stop thinking about it. It was such a great movie. I know I didn't get every nuance of it. I was just overwhelmed. Man, if I ever win the lottery, I'm just going to give that guy money. Because he also self-financed that movie.
Okay, wow.
That was his money. I guess all this comes from you. You asked about restrictions. I think that I've always looked at obstacles as opportunities for growth, and I hate myself for saying it that way, because when I had a job in a semi-corporate environment, that was one of the corporate things, like
the motivational poster.
Opportunities for growth. But it's true, So I know I'm flawed and, maybe I shouldn't keep re-editing movies, but I do want to present them in their best way possible. I love a band called Merciful Fate, and I hunted down every demo, every live recording, because the songs that I loved, I wanted to hear in other forms. So that's another reason for the movie. Like, I'm not doing it for money. The Kickstarters I have is me asking fans for permission. So that's another way I look at Kickstarter. It's not really to make money. It's to tell me that something is valid. Because if my fans won't support it, then outsiders won't either. But did I satisfy you with your question?
I am so satisfied. I'm going to need a towel. No.
All right, I promise to be concise.
Yes.
I have a follow-up. So I've seen your movies, and I want to watch more. I enjoy them. They're not for everybody, and they're definitely not for people to watch with youngsters. These are adult films, and I would not watch them with your wife if she has or anybody who has a sensitive disposition. But what I was going to say is I would love to see a Bill Zebub movie with the guardrails off. If what we're watching is a more controlled environment, I would love to see you make a movie with no guardrails. I mean, I would put money into that Kickstarter, 100%. Bill Zebub Goes Wild or something.
Interesting. Well, when I make movies, my intention is not really to shock. When I grew up, I watched Desperate Living by John He's my father. John Waters. When I was 15, I hung out with college kids because of Dungeons and Dragons. So that changed my life. I even gave John Waters Ant Farm Dick Hole. That's the only person I ever met whom I was tongue-tied in front of him. I couldn't get a word out because I knew I only have 10 seconds, and I tried to say everything, and it just came out. I don't know if he ever watched it. I watched Mink Stole, and I actually had conversation with her. She's an actress in John Waters movies.
Sure.
But my friends I wouldn't say they were normies because I never really hung out with normies because they wouldn't hang out with me. I'm just not the kind of person they would befriend. But many of my friends considered Desperate Living to be shocking, offensive, and stuff like that. And I just thought it was creative. I didn't see any shock in that. Like, I was shocked that a movie could be made like that. And I promised myself, I didn't have any idea that I would make movies later in life, but I promised myself if I ever made movies, I want to give people who are kindred spirits the same kind of entertainment. Because think about it, if you make movies to shock, you repel. That's anti-sales. People could get their money back if they don't like a movie,
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that it's a target audience, but when I make something, I make it to amuse, or maybe to make people think, maybe to explore ideas, but it's never to make anyone feel bad. Even when I made a revenge movie, that Jesus was an asshole, it wasn't to piss off Christians because they wouldn't watch something called Jesus Was an Asshole. Or if they did, what did you think you'd see? But some of the people who participated in the crowdfunder, there's one guy who lives near the border of Arkansas and Texas. I'm not going to say Arkansas the way they say it, but he said he's a Southern Baptist. And he said that, yes, if there was ever a horror convention there and I arrived, they would run me out of town. But he had problems with some of the content, but not to the point of hating me. He wasn't threatened by anything in the movie. And the things that he didn't agree with, he still doesn't agree with. He didn't change his mind about anything, but he was amused. That's the important thing. So he didn't like every aspect, didn't agree with some of the stuff that was presented. But, I guess don't
understand how anybody could be offended at your movies. I mean, the titles and the covers tell them what they're about to get. The description certainly tells them, right? Like, it's not a got ya by any means.
You said something earlier, and I didn't want to cut you off, but at horror conventions, sometimes I tell people who may not know, hey, listen, there's nudity in this movie, so don't watch it in front of kids unless you're raping them. So that always gets a laugh.
Nice.
I thought you'd laugh.
Oh, yeah. Unless you're a politician or a head of a corporation, right?
But honestly, I don't know if I would make a movie with no restrictions because that's pretty much the way I make movies. I have made movies for other producers. but they wanted the movies to be crazy. Like when I made Forgive Me for Raping You, that was funded by Steve Nebesny from Rough Pictures. And then after 7 years, the rights reverted to me. And by then the Pound Me Too movement was around. So I called it Forgive Me.
Yeah.
But I am going to, I'm going to re-edit it. Yeah. So the original cover had a guy in a priest costume. And I don't mean when you buy at Spirit of Halloween. I mean a real like expensive priest getup.
Yeah.
And he had his arms around a naked girl, and it was called Forgive Me for Raping You. And the tagline was, don't call me father, call me daddy. And so that's going to be the name of the re-edit. But, there's a long list of things to re-edit. Fans want them. And that's another thing that I do. Like, I respect the people who took a chance on me the first version of the movie. And so if I re-edit anything, it's not just the quality that improves, it's the cut. I think every shot has been done like 5 to 10 times, depending on how much time we had. There was guerrilla filmmaking where we only had an hour, so we better get whatever we need and get out of here. But fuck, I have Alzheimer's.
I have, Bill, I've got a couple of questions for you.
Yeah.
I've talked to some of our...
Stop,
go on.
Stop. My Alzheimer's healed. I just quickly want to say the Ass Monster. Lucifer, the character in Ass Monster, was based on that indie director, Bill Hellfire. And one of the reasons for that was not to make fun of him, but he and I had completely different views on things. Like he seemed, I don't know if this is true, by the way,
Sure.
So my disclaimer, but he seemed more interested in hoodwinking people and making sales. A friend of his said that he changed the name of his movie company every convention so that people knew it's not the same guy.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's true, but I thought that's a good character.
Yeah.
And so that guy, I remember at one convention later on after I made movies, because when I first met him, I didn't make movies. He worked for distributors, but yet they wouldn't carry his movies. So that says something. But
yeah.
So I don't know if he worked there to get some distribution. I don't know, but I just really loved writing that Lucifer character. But you might find this very funny. There was a screening for it at a bar/club. And there was a guy who I thought was a fan who came up to me. And I thought, wow, I don't know why I thought that this guy was a diehard supporter and bought every movie I ever made. Because I only saw him when I was drunk. So I was drunk. And so he was very excited to see me. And I said, oh, dude, this is amazing that you're here because I'm showing Ass Monster. You get to see it before it comes out. And I told him all about it. And I asked, do you know who Bill Hellfire is? And he looked at me strangely. And I thought it was like, oh, of course, like everybody knows who he is. I thought it was that kind of a look. Like, why would I ask something like that? Like, do you know who Christopher Nolan is? So then I said, well, I didn't tell anybody, but I made a character based on him. And I went on and on about what I thought about Bill Hellfire. And then all of a sudden I heard behind me like, hey, Bill. It was him. He was behind me hearing everything. And the reason why they were there is Bill's band played that night. Like, I didn't know.
Okay.
So, so at first I thought like, fuck, the only time I ever shit talk someone is if the person's right behind me. That has happened millions of times. Because, if the person's not here, we don't talk about them.
Yep.
That's the way brave people are. They save it for when you're in front of the person. But, but I remember at first thinking like, oh, fuck. And then I thought like, I don't like the guy anyway. Who cares? And I could beat him up. So, all right, back to you. Was it worth me interrupting you for that?
Yeah.
I hope it was worth it.
I mean, I know you could beat up Bill Hellfire, but I don't know that you could beat up him and his band. I mean, drummers are crazy, right? So
here's something honest. When I get drunk, anyone can beat me up. Anyone. In fact, I beat myself up. Like gravity is like biggest foe. But go ahead.
Bill's arch nemesis is gravity. So I've got a couple of listener questions, and we're not live right now. But,
are we live? I thought we were recording.
No, we're not live. But, I've told people I've been very excited about this interview, this episode. So,
and just to help things along, when I go on a tangent, go, eh.
That'll be Mike's job. Mike's got a really good buzzer noise.
All right. Use the hook.
Just to put Mike on the spot. Are there any ideas that you refuse to film because they're too weird?
No, I have not done things because I didn't think there was a reason to. Like when I made a movie called Stereotypes Don't Just Disappear into Thin Air, I didn't make fun of, I called them Orientals, not to insult them, but I'm not going to change a word because of politics. Like, that's the word.
Yeah.
I'm like that with grammar as well. Like, there's no hostility. It's just that I read classic literature. Sorry. You know, I don't want to say, like, do you have a revised edition where instead of Orientals, it's Asians? And plus, if you know the history of Korea, China, and Japan, they're all considered Asians, or I guess to some degree they were Orientals, but there were nasty things done. Like, look up the Nanking massacre, what the Japanese did to the Chinese. And I'm not talking about like when people meet one-on-one, because my favorite restaurant is a Korean restaurant in Montclair, New Jersey called Coriander. And when a Japanese person comes in, they don't think like, oh, you never said sorry. So, you know, the old hatred or the old history between people doesn't really matter when you meet one-on-one. And I often said that the way to have world peace is to have ethnicities who don't like each other to just meet the most attractive member of the other ethnicity, and there will no more hatred after that. And I found out that some of the like Russian sub-countries, well, they're countries, but they were part of the Soviet Union. They're supposed to not like each other, but people on the border had sex with each other. So I'm right.
Yeah.
Love. Make love, not war.
Love and boobs.
By the way, I don't like
love
that.
and boobs.
All right. So as far as like something that was too weird for me, I don't think anything will ever be weird for me. I thought that I would never make a child molestation movie. I'm not going to make a child molestation movie, but the movie Dicknocchio or Pedophile, I'm probably not going to call it pedophile, but Dicknocchio is not glorifying child molestation. And there's no depiction of child molestation.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of kids having any kind of bad thing happen to them, whether it's like yelling at them, making fun of them. Like, you know, that should be the time in your life when, you know, I'm sorry, I was about to become an idealist. It's impossible for bad things not to happen, but I don't want to make a movie about bad things happening to kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we could leave it at that.
Sure.
But yeah, I pretty much have never rejected anything that I can think of.
Yes. Now, the next question is, and I don't know if you're, I'm sorry.
I was just making a joke.
Oh yeah, you're doing it to yourself. I thought you were doing it to me, and that's cool too. The next one is, now, I don't know if your parents are alive or what kind of relationship you have with them or had with them. Are they or were they fans of your work?
I tried very hard my entire life to shield them as well as employers when I had jobs outside of movies. I think my mother knew that I made movies.
Yeah.
I don't know if my father knew. I did bring, well, I shouldn't say this. But yeah, as far as my parents, I don't think my father knew. He has dementia right now.
Okay, sorry.
My mom died, and it's weird because 2 weeks before she died, I had a dream in which, you know, she always joked around that she has weird children.
Yeah.
You know, I was born in the Czech Republic. She's Hungarian, father's Ukrainian. So that eastern part of Europe, well, I shouldn't really say conservative because the Czech surrealists, you know, maybe that's in my blood. But anyway, I think that she did look at life the way you're, I guess, trained to, you know, like raise the child to be a productive, successful adult. And then look at me, you know, went to college for 30 years, left the psychology field, left the computer field to live pretty much like a homeless person, where all my money, seriously, like instead of medical, I just pour it right back into movies, not because I think like it'll snowball and like one day this will be the $1 million. It just, when I lost everything, and I'm not going to get into that story, my first question was, how do I finish this movie?
Yeah.
Instead of thinking like, where do I live or stuff like that. But yeah, 2 weeks before my mom died, I had a dream that I should explain to her why I live the way I do. And I felt this need that I should have a talk with her because my low ranking in life or my low status in life is my own choice. Like, it's not that I was rejected. You know, I could have become successful. I just chose this path. I've also known a lot of people who died, you know, so that really made me rethink what I think is important. And I've been with people as they were dying and they stopped caring about things. So I just realized that a lot of stuff that I thought was important was just drama that I will one day not care about. So why care about it now?
Sure.
So that's kind of a deep thing to talk about with your mother. But also, I'm a diabetic. And when I first became a diabetic at 16, the messages were, you're going to die young. And before you die, you're going to be crippled. Your kidneys are going to fail. You're going to be blind. Yep. So that had a lot to do. Like when you're 16, you're supposed to feel immortal. And I just was given like, no, fucker, not you.
Yeah.
So that
I was
affected
diagnosed at
decision.
4.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So when people ask me if I'm type 1 or type 2, I say I'm always number 1.
Yeah.
But anyways, I never had this conversation with my mother because it would be heartbreaking for her to hear how I thought about life.
Yeah.
So I never did. Even after the dream. And then when she died, I thought I should have told her, like right before the end, if I just spilled all the secrets. But like, I forgot which one of you has 2 kids. Imagine your kid telling you like, by the way, Dad, I gave up on life as other people see it. I'm just doing my own thing and I hope I just get a heart attack in my sleep and not die the long, extended, painful way, because maybe I'll just kill myself if that occurs too. So those are heavy topics.
Yeah.
I don't know if I brought the level of the show down with that, but
no,
but yeah, that answered the question. Like, I hope my mother never saw any of my movies because also she, like a lot of other people, when I was young, I didn't realize that I'm generalizing the people I hung out with to the rest of the world. And the rest of the world is not like that. People are squeamish. Not everybody can handle watching a scene that something that I would fall out of the chair laughing, another person would not be able to handle.
Yeah.
And they far outnumber me and my people. But yeah, my mother was one of them. And I knew that early on, like, do not show her. She's not going to understand.
Yep. All right, so let's we'll lighten it up a little bit, and then we'll probably wrap it up fairly soon. But we'll lighten it up. I want to talk a little bit about Ant Farm Dick Hole here, because in Ant Farm Dick Hole, and spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, the kind of the main character, I can't remember if it's Aunt Tony or not the one that you play, Bill, the other one, the one that starts out with the Ant Dick or whatever. But so. So the guy's fucking a car to get the ants to kill this naked woman in the car, and then he starts fucking a house to kill the naked woman inside that house. And so my first question, my first question was not why. Like I understood why he was doing these things. My first question was, are you getting film permits, or are you just kind of like, let's do this quick and hope the cops don't show up?
Well, I filmed in New Jersey, and in New Jersey the rule was, if your crew is less than 4, you do not need a permit. It doesn't mean that you could just go on private property and do whatever you want.
Well, yeah.
So the house was his house.
Okay.
And the car was outside of a park. And without going into copyright and clearance, I didn't need permission for that particular thing. And also, I did make sure that no kids watched. And I don't know if the shot made it into the movie you saw, but there was an attractive girl across the street who was just captivated, and she kept walking, could not stop looking.
Okay, that wasn't in this cut, no.
Okay, but it might have been omitted because the reason to use it is to show her face, but I think it was shallow focus, so the guy was in focus and the other girl was... I'm not sure what the reasons were. But the New Jersey Film Commission had a member who loved my work. And helped out with finding places. So that's another reason why I want to go back to New Jersey. In fact, I was there a couple of weeks ago to film some scenes because over there I have many privileges. I have the opposite here where I get kicked out of places.
Yeah.
And I remember, just testing the waters. Like for Ass Monster, there was a scene where I was making out with a girl, Carrie Taylor, and she was topless. And it was at a park that this should make it into a movie. That was the least visited area of this giant park, Garrett Mountain. And on the day I went there was an Elvis impersonator who was singing in the parking lot, full blast. And then they had like some high school ROTC training. And so we're trying to sneak shots. And anyway, there was an interloper. And usually with interlopers, I handle things differently, but with this interloper, I was very nasty with him. I said, we've got a permit to be here. You can't walk around, because he was spooking the girl, which is weird because she's topless everywhere. But like, I can't have an interloper look at me. So for her benefit, I was an asshole. Yeah. And it turned out that this guy was the head of that ROTC thing, and he called the police. What he told the police was that we're filming porno in front of kids. Yeah. And so like 10 million police came. Fuck. But they just gave a ticket to appease the asshole. But I knew cops. I have all these PBA cards. I don't know if you have them in Michigan. And the guy made it clear that we're not shooting porn. We're trying to be discreet and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But I almost forgot the relevance of all this. The relevance is nearby there was a lake / pond. Like, it was a little too deep for me to call it a pond.
Yeah.
But I had a scene in which Rocco from the movie was supposed to go into the water with a cinder block around his head.
Yeah,
and I just wanted
that.
So I wanted to know if that was a crime, right?
Yeah.
So the cop said, no, it's the same thing. You'll just get like a $25 ticket if somebody complains. And so the next day I went and I shot that because I was thought like, I'll spend $25 for that because it's not a criminal thing. It's just the same thing as not wearing a seatbelt, as far as like, oh, I can't get this job because I didn't wear a seatbelt at a stop sign. But,
is it fair to say that the Texas police forces are more willing and able to send officers to stop you from filming a topless woman in a park than they are to stop a shooting at a school in Uvalde?
Well, I'm not emotionally invested in the Uvalde thing, so I don't want to comment about that. But there are ultra-conservative places in Texas, and I get pulled over there all the time. Like, they're not supposed to do this, to pull over just because they're curious. But I like proactive police. Because I look like a scumbag. My friends who are cops say that I look like a shithead in a shit box because my car looks like I bought it at a junkyard. Because I go for function, not for, the looks. Like, I'm picking up girls. But one such cop, I asked, hey, because there's this lake, I wanted to film an actress and she had some topless scenes. And I asked, if I film in this public spot and the girl removes her bra, is that a crime? And he said, if there's a kid around, it's a very serious crime. I'm like, okay, not filming in Texas.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been pulled over, and sometimes the parting words are, well, there's really nothing going around here, so I had to do something, which is fine. Like, I didn't get a ticket, but I have to realize that where I am has different rules than in the Northeast. And I also have to realize that, there are a lot of people who look scummy like I do in the Northeast. And, maybe there are some good examples where not everybody is hunted who looks like me.
Yep.
But over here, it's either a beacon for a certain type of person or it's just, my cop friends say, like, just pull them over for anything because you'll find something. Yeah. So, I play the game. Like, I know what they do. Like, sometimes like their new fake thing to pull you over is like, oh, we're just making sure you're awake. Yeah, I go to sleep like 8 hours from now. All right, well, let me just run your license. So I know the game, but what are you going to do? Like, fight it? So I just play. So whenever in Texas someone is following me, I just intentionally go to a corner, like a residential area, and I turn without using my signal. And then immediately I pulled over. Why I'm pulling you over? I think I forgot to use my signal. Yeah. But it has always been reversed, except for, of course, a DUI.
Yeah.
Look, you got the wrong guy. By the way, I'm lucky that happened during COVID, because even though it was my first and only DUI, you go to jail in Texas for that, or at least for the blood alcohol that I had. And because of COVID, they didn't want people in jail. So I just did all my probation over the phone and all that stuff. I'm not saying that it was easy. I think it was ultimately $16,000, which I didn't have. But I think it's important that happened to me because I will never drive drunk again, ever. Have you ever had an experience like this, driving drunk?
No, I've never driven drunk.
Okay. Yeah, because even my lawyer said everyone in Texas drinks and drives. It's just sometimes you get caught, sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
Let's hope the judge thinks that way. But
yeah, probably not.
But what was the question? I think I answered it.
Oh, no. Yeah, you did answer about the film permits and kind of the struggles of filming different. I don't know what you would probably call it, different jurisdictions, right?
Yeah. The only place I think was wrong was in Ass Monster. There was a reservoir. I don't think it would have been a problem to get permission. And the reason I filmed there is I saw that there was a hole cut into a fence.
Sure.
And so because I look stupid, if anybody investigates, like, oh, I didn't know because it was a fence. I didn't see a sign, no trespassing, even though there were signs, no trespassing.
Yeah.
That's what qualifies it as defiant trespassing. But I'm sorry, I heard a beep. Are we still going?
No, we're still going. Wasn't a beep for me.
But, I wasn't doing anything naughty there. And I certainly didn't have any intentions of throwing poison into the water or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I'm very careful. Like, I don't want to do anything that's wrong. Like, I'm not a rebel. Some people think that I am, but I'm not. And, I often say that if anyone from the government said, like, don't do this, I won't do it. Even if they said, like, never make another movie, I'm like, fine with me. You're the boss. Do you think lower of me now that I said that?
No. I mean, so the reality is, not everybody is a revolutionary. not everybody has to be a revolutionary. You can dislike what the government does, but at the individual level, there's not a whole lot anybody can really do about it. So if you understand that, you're just a realist. It's not, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know what I mean? Like I think they just passed a law saying that anything you ask AI is owned by the government now or something, right? So like they can do whatever they fucking want.
Right. Well, you probably have met people, I guess we all have met people who become enraged by what they see on the news, but I'd rather only hear about things that I can solve. Any other problems, like, leave it to somebody else. And, for the people who talk about this and that in America, like, I hate censorship. I hate the digital merchants who are forcing heavy censorship on movies or, you just won't play you. But it's much more free than in other parts of the world.
Yes.
Much more free. But I just think it's a silly notion of, rebelling against the government. I don't know how long something like that would be allowed. And then, the hammer will come down.
Yeah.
It's like, when I was a kid and I heard the story of the fall of Lucifer, prior to the events that were described of Lucifer rebelling against God, he was described as an intelligent angel. I was thinking, like, I don't think he was that smart to rebel against an omnipotent being. And just for something as simple as like, I don't want to serve, I don't want to bow, then, you get what you deserve. So I don't like that story. There are a lot of Bible stories that as a kid, I was in trouble for questioning them, which is probably why I snapped out of religion very early. It wasn't like a hateful thing. It's just like, can you just give me a fucking answer I can understand?
Yep. I remember when I was in elementary school, I asked my pastor, Lutheran, that, when Jesus was in the temple and he stayed behind and hid from Joseph and Mary to be with the monks or priests or whatever they were, the religious people there at the temple, and they came back to find him. And I was like, well, he's, disobeying a commandment. He's disobeying his father and mother. And the pastor said, oh, no, his father is God. And I'm like, well, we're all children of God. And the commandment is you need to honor your earthly mother and father. And he's not doing that. And the pastor didn't like that. So I also bounced off religion. But it wasn't necessarily a disrespectful question. It's just like, is that not what he's doing here?
Well, my only anger about religion, particularly Christianity, is they're bullies. Not all of them, but they have gotten movies of mine removed from Amazon, like Jesus Christ Serial Rapist, which had nothing to do with Jesus. They just didn't like the name. And so they banded together. I think Antifa kind of copied the whole Christian thing. Like, let's just be an amazing nuisance. And people will be like, you know what? It's not worth it. The show's over. But there are people who are comforted and consoled, whether it's religion or some other belief, like we're irrational creatures, Yet some of us are better thinkers, but, we're emotional, we're irrational, and whatever works, that's fine as long as it doesn't hurt somebody else. That's when I become angry. But like the fan who's a Southern Baptist, who talked to me about his reaction to the Jesus Was an Asshole movie. We're friends. He introduced himself at a Texas convention, and that's the only time he and I ever talk about religion, because I asked, like, did I look like an asshole in the movie? And he said no, because I don't have the power to shake his faith or whatever. So talk about other things. But so it's not that I don't want to hear what Christians have to say about my blasphemous movies. I do want to hear from people who like the movie or who are fans of the movies, who are also Christian, who also don't like it. It was also because of engaging fans who are Christians that I realized that some of my movies have conversations that are just info dumps.
Yep.
And so another part of the re-edit is like, get rid of that. I talked about a Democrat or Republican before. It's almost like, yeah, I'm enjoying this movie, but this Democrat keeps talking about like fucking Republicans. Like, shut up.
Well, see, like in Dickless Zombies, it's all topless women having these discussions, and I'm okay with that. So,
yeah. On your podcast, do you ever review movies?
We do.
We just did a Spaceballs review. We're going to be doing, spoiler alert for our listeners, we're going to be doing a Dudley Do-Right review. We do movie reviews, yes.
Okay. Maybe I'll email you to send you a couple of things, because I don't think you've really watched the flagship Beelzebub movie. But also maybe we could do a giveaway to your audience. I could send some for giveaways.
Oh, sure. Yeah. That would be awesome.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Just paying it back. Like at horror conventions, sometimes people give me DVD-Rs, like they're burned DVDs, like, hey, I made this movie, I wanted to see it. And I always tell them, like, I'm not one to judge. And they're like, no, just enjoy it. And they're always surprised when I say, well, take one of mine, like even a Blu-ray. Yeah. It's because I'm not better. Like, I'm just doing what I want. I'm lucky that I have enough to live based on, the movies and all that. So, I don't know how well off you are, but what's a better life? Indulging my creative desires, and that's it. Like, I have no money for anything else. Yep. Or making a lot of money, but having no fun. Yep. And not expressing myself. Plus, as I said, I could die at any time. Hopefully a heart attack in my sleep, that would be great.
Well, I always tell people I want to die between, being smothered by boobs. Like, even if I die a different way, just that's what you tell people happened. So.
Well, this might relate to one of your listeners asking if there's something I wouldn't do.
Yeah.
I was asked to make a Bill Cosby movie.
Okay.
With me playing Bill Cosby. And the reason why I didn't do it is there wasn't anything more. Like, I don't want to make a one-joke movie. Like, with Ant Farm Dickhole, that happened because I was at a horror convention and Mark Colgrove from Dire Wit Film, he said that he always wanted to have a scene in which an ant crawled into your urethra. I said, well, how are you going to get distribution if you do something like that? And then I jokingly said, you can call it Ant Farm Dickhole. And then I said, it could be rated Aardvark. And so I kept coming up with these jokes. And for days, I wasn't thinking about it to make it. So I started writing things down because, I have Alzheimer's. And eventually I had so many pages that I called the distributor and I said, look, I want to make a movie, but it must be called Ant Farm Dickhole. And all I heard was laughter on the other end.
Yep.
And it was the opposite conversation that one has with a distributor. They told me to make it. And I said, well, it takes time and money to make a movie. Like, is anyone going to buy it? So lucky for me, I made $9,000 in the first 3 months. So
there you go.
But that movie was made purely for the hell of it.
Yeah.
The Bill Cosby movie, it was just a couple of things that I thought were funny. And then I thought it would also be funny if George Floyd were in it and he drank one of the cappuccinos that Bill Cosby made. And then as he gets raped, like, I can't breathe. But
you could do it as a short. It should be a short bonus feature.
No. Well, the other thing is I don't really have an investment in the whole George Floyd thing. I just thought as a martial artist, like, that cop wasn't applying any pressure, but he was a dick for not calling an ambulance.
Yeah.
And then whatever. I don't care about any other thing. I just don't like political people also because they have tantrums. And I guess maybe they have tantrums because, like, where can you debate? Like, we want this or that change. Like, you'd be thrown out of places. So maybe you burn parts of your city down and people listen. I don't know. I just thought that was not a good way. Like if I were in traffic because of protesters, whatever they're protesting, I would vote for. Even if it's like, kill Beelzebub. Like, you're fucking in my way. I'm trying to watch a movie. I'm late already. So it's just, I don't like arguing your case by tantrums. And so in my movies, I don't like arguing a case because, I've got a platform. Because I don't use my movies as a platform. I just explore. Like, what if? I'm only asking questions. I'm not telling you anything. Boy, I sound mature.
Finally, after all these years, you've achieved it.
But yeah, I always answer questions, even if they seem like insulting. And it's because of that I realized that, some of my earlier movies, they were info dumps. Like, it was just people spouting trivia to each other that nobody cares. Not even the people who agree with it care.
Yeah.
So get it out of the movie. See, I can change.
Yeah. And that's part of, doing something you like. I mean, our first season, I was sitting outside with a microphone that picked up everything. And I was sitting outside in the winter recording episodes. And I knew nothing about anything about audio. And I was like, everything sucks. And I went back and listened to a couple episodes and like, okay, it doesn't suck as bad as I thought it sucked. But like, thank God I'm better now than I was, 5 years ago or whatever. So it's part of the process, I guess, right?
Well, I love the president of my distribution. Well, it's not my distribution company, but MVD Visual, because we talked about the early days and he signed my practice movie. I made a practice script, Metalheads, and then I made a practice movie on camcorder. In 2007, I remade it. I am going to re-edit it because although people don't like metal and it probably won't sell well, the people who love the movie love it for its heart.
Yeah.
Like, it was an honest story. So, and it also involves like being a loser and having a girlfriend who's like, well, it was funny at first, but no, it's not. Not based on real life. I've had very good girlfriends, but Ed Seaman is his name. He said that when he watched the movie, it was just flaw after flaw. This sucks, but there's something about it. And so then I was at a store in New York City, B&H, where I get a lot of my photo equipment. You know, I'm not trying to plug them, but the reason why I love the store is, although I hate New York City itself, I went in there because the salespeople don't work on commission. So they could spend hours with you just telling you about stuff. So I remember one salesperson was interrupted to answer questions about specs for a camera. And he told the guy, you should be less worried about how sharp the image is than what's in front of the lens. And I took that to heart. So yeah, with all the flaws, even of my current movies, there's something about it that resonates with some people. But in order for them to be, well, I don't think anything I've made so far can be a commercial success, but in order to be commercially successful, I would need other people who know what they're doing, you know, to handle things. Even if it's, you know, I told people if I had a big budget, one of the biggest improvements would be I would know not to do certain things. You know, so when I say, like, I want this to happen, you know, I need someone to tell me, like, that has never worked in the history of cinema. It's not going to work for you. You're not Yorgos Lanthimos. You can't use this lens in that way. You know, he knows what he's doing. You don't know what you're doing. And I saw a documentary on Queen, and my takeaway was that I'm not sure if my memory is correct, but all of their solo albums tanked, you know, relatively to the Queen albums, because when they worked as a band, they had to fight for their ideas. So that's the problem with being an auteur. I would love to be part of a bigger group and be collaborative. You know, I'd have a sound person doing the sound. I'd have a cinematographer. I'd have like even developmental editors. You know, like, you know, that script, you know, it's kind of lagging over there. Blah blah blah. But I'm the only one who makes decisions, and I only know after the movie's out what failed. You know, I don't have test audiences or anything like that. So in that sense, my movies are art because I'm the only one who decides. And then, you know, so that's another reason for the re-edits. Like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. But yeah, bigger budget. Even if someone told me, like, Bill, you know, don't put boobs there. Do not put boobs there.
You don't need that kind of negativity in your life. So maybe don't listen to that person.
I remember one fan told me that one of the things he likes about my movies is that he doesn't have to wonder, like, is that girl going to be naked? And then he said, in one movie, he said, like, man, it looked like she wasn't going to be naked. And then when she was, it was just like fireworks went off in my head. Like, wow. So sometimes it's distracting when the girl doesn't take her clothes off. You know, maybe I'm talking like an idiot right now, but
no, I think the only one. Oh, yeah, go on.
Yeah, no, you go on.
Well, I was going to say, I think.
I talk too much.
No, in the five movies of yours that I've seen, I think the only woman that didn't get naked was the woman in Dickless Zombies who was finding people's cell phones out in the field.
I don't even remember that.
Well, that's how you introduce like the Colorado guy and his like barbecue and stuff like that. Like she would find people's phones that they had dropped when they became zombies, and she'd watch like the videos on there or whatever. But yeah, as far as I know, she never got naked. Yeah, she was still in a swimsuit or bikini or something. But
I don't remember. I should never have released that movie. Like maybe as a bonus of another movie. Maybe it's the story of making is funny to some people. I don't even know if I mentioned it in the Never Make a Movie in Texas, but that definitely was the movie that made me decide, like, okay, I know it's going to add like $1,000 to $3,000 to the cost of the movie for me to film in New Jersey, but I can't film in Texas anymore. Plus, I had heat exhaustion 3 times.
Sure.
The people here are resilient, you know? I don't know how they do it. Or maybe the heat is the reason for the stupidity. Like a lot of brain cells have died. But I'm joking.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that there are kindred spirits in this giant state. I've come across a couple of them. There are still cultural differences. Also, there's a general lackadaisical attitude, you know. But I've encountered that in New Jersey as well. Like, because of my love of John Waters, I don't like anyone to feel like he or she is on the outside looking in. So if someone says, "Oh, I love your movies. I'd love to be in a movie," I'll ask, like, "What are you doing Wednesday?"
Yeah.
So while some people might ridicule the movies, like, "Oh, the acting's terrible," blah blah blah. Yeah, but I made a star out of a person who never thought he or she would be one.
Yeah.
You know, so I've given that magic to people where they're recognized in supermarkets, they're recognized here, or they just have bragging rights. They were in a movie. So in my Kickstarters, you'll never see a perk like be on screen for 10 seconds for $500 and travel at your own expense. And because I go to horror conventions, whenever I make comedies, I poll people, like if they're Kickstarter people, like I know that they're in the state, like, hey, I'm going to be around, and the scene's in a hotel. It doesn't matter if the hotel is in New Jersey or Texas. Like, I include people. So I asked you where you live and how far you go. Like, I know there's a horror convention in Michigan, but I've never been there. I've heard that the people who run it are kind of picky and censorship happy, so I probably wouldn't do well there. But
are there any in Minneapolis here?
Yeah. I'm going to a convention in Indianapolis next year where I'll have a lot of stuff. You know, definitely hang out. If you've never been to a horror convention, what makes one good is the nightlife. So after the proper horror convention, you know, just the partying and mingling with people, and some celebrities mingle with people like Derek Mears, who plays Jason in one of the Friday the 13th. He's a movie fan. So when you talk to him, he talks to you like he's a fan. He doesn't talk to you like he's above you. And so these are my inspirations for how to conduct myself. You know, always be humble in front of other people. And if people yell at me, just let them say it. Don't interrupt them. And sometimes I agree, you know. So when I told you, like, don't be afraid to insult me, it wasn't like that there would be any reprisal, but also I welcome that because I might be blind about some things about myself or about my movies. I don't want to go through life blind. Holy crap, I'm mature twice now. I have to stop this.
It's like what? Yeah, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, except you're going the right way.
But yeah, I want to send you some stuff. I'm working on some more sober and serious things, but they're very long term and I can't talk about them. I might even die before they're done, but with the exception of being Frankenstein, because I can finally attempt my version of Frankenstein after all these years. Yes. I would hate to die during the making of it. Like, man, always too late. Oh, by the way, it is going to suck. It's not going to be good. I'm doing it because, you know, reading Frankenstein gave me the same feeling when I read Milton's Paradise Lost. I thought Lucifer was a sympathetic character. And in the book, I thought I was reading it incorrectly because I sided with the monster. Not the things that the monster did. When it was enraged and when torment moved him toward that direction. You know, he have you read Frankenstein?
Yes.
All right, so I don't need to tell you. It's almost like exposition in a Beelzebub movie. As you know, Frankenstein. Yeah, and I want to slap Del Toro for making Frankenstein into a superhero movie.
Yeah, I didn't like his, and I normally like his films, and I was pretty disappointed.
Same here. Yeah, very sad. But I'm glad that it was so bad because when I make mine, maybe there'll be something to it. I guess
yours is the one that'll be remembered. They'll be like, who's that Guillermo del Toro guy? He's got nothing on Beelzebub.
Well, you know, I like the archaic dialogue of the monster. It was poetic. He was one of the most poetic characters I've ever read in all of literature that I've read. And I've read a lot. But maybe Robert Eggers, who made The Witch.
Yeah.
As long as he likes the Frankenstein book and not the cheesy Universal Frankenstein with Electro.
Yeah.
You know, there never was a contraption to make the monster.
No.
You know, that's all fiction. But I remember when I first saw The Witch. By the way, have you seen The Witch?
I have, yes.
By Robert Eggers?
Yep.
I saw it in the theater, and I saw it at an important time because I thought that commercial movies are just going to be garbage. You know, it's okay to just lose myself in garbage because I eat junk food, so I might as well watch it junk.
Yeah.
I make junk. But I was surprised, like jaw agape. And the audience was very quiet. And I thought that the audience also had the same reaction I did. Like, finally, we see something like this. Money was put into something this good.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, someone yelled, "This shit needs subtitles." And I wanted to yell back, "This is in English." And so that showed me that a general audience, well, I don't know if it could be general because people chose to see a movie called The Witch. So it's not truly a general audience, but I don't think people want to hear archaically spoken dialogue or poetic dialogue. So right off the bat, the movie's going to be a failure just for that reason, you know, and I'm no Robert Eggers. So, but yeah, you know, when I talked about how do I make people speak like this in the modern world, I thought maybe use foreigners. Because when people first learn English, they learn Oxford English with the annoying British accent, but grammatically they learn, and then as they interact with people, they learn slang and bad grammar, because that's conversational English. And so I thought about that. I made it's the only movie that I made test footage of, but it failed for many reasons. I thought, all right, don't use a German, because, the monster spoke French, German.
Yeah.
He taught himself to... Well, I'm not going to tell you. You read the book.
Yeah.
It's the old exposition in Beelzebub. But
I was going to say, if you've read the book, you know that it's not the monster, it's the creature, right? The monster is Frankenstein.
As you know. But
as you know.
Well, from now
on, when you watch a movie... You watch a movie, as you know. As you know, this could have been edited from the movie. But other than that, did you smoke your cigar until there was nothing?
We did. We can, Mike, do you want to, what did you think of the cigar, Mike? Our last Tatiana.
Well, it was made a lot better with Beelzebub, I'm not going to lie.
100%.
This one was kind of like a spicy chocolate. Would that be accurate?
It was a weird flavor. It was it was sweet, like, but had some of that undertone of peppery
smell. Yeah, it was kind of like spiced Christmas chocolate, like the real cheap chalky stuff you get from your advent calendar.
Yep.
Like that sort of
or like the what is it, the mulled wine that nobody knows how to make it, but they feel like they have to try.
Yeah, and they didn't buy the pack from the craft fair, like what you're supposed to do. Yeah. Like it was kind of like a mixture of those two things, which I don't enjoy either one. But not
fine.
The best Tatiana, not the best by a long shot.
It was all right.
Yeah, it was fine. I didn't get any Scooby snacks, and it smoked pretty even.
Yeah.
So
what are you giving it, Mike?
Now I got to open my damn phone and look up my damn stuff.
Technology. We have an internet podcast, and god damn it, we have to interact with technology.
I know, and I work on a computer full time, and I don't know what's going on. By the way, Bill, that's a running joke that I don't know how to use any technology, even though I work on a computer all day long, and I work on computers professionally.
When I was in IT. When I was in IT, I was the same thing. And then, one of the things I hated about IT is like, wait, I still have to learn stuff? Like new stuff keeps happening? Like what's Bluetooth? I just want to fix your fucking problems.
Yeah, when I built a computer in 11th grade, that was the last computer I would ever need. You know what I mean? Like Windows 98 was going to be the end, right? So I actually really did, what the hell was it? ME, right before XP. It was only out for like a year, but I really liked that operating system. Anyway, I rated it a 175 because you gave it 2. So now you're being more kind than me.
I'm just giving I'm going with my gut. It was fine. I didn't have any issues with it.
It reminded me of a cheap Catholic Christmas where the priest is a pedophile. You know what I mean?
Like, and that's fitting for our topic for this episode, Mike. It matched perfectly. I thought the sweet Euphoria and Beelzebub were going to go hand in hand, and they did.
They did. Oh, that's great.
All right. Well, we're going to put a bunch of links in our episode description for Beelzebub and his films and his magazine, where to find them, where to buy them. And we'll be doing a giveaway at some point for some Beelzebub stuff. And
I'll put stuff in the mail tomorrow.
Sure. And I've been looking forward to this. This has been fantastic. So thank you, Bill, for coming on and discussing your films and your philosophies on different things. And please keep making movies.
Why you didn't insult me. I'm wondering why you did not criticize or insult me.
There's nothing to criticize or insult. I've enjoyed everything of yours that I've seen.
Yeah, Bill, the titles and the covers say it all.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at the title and you read the cover and you're like, this is not a movie for me, it's not.
Yes.
Right? It's not. The rebellion's in your heart, people.
I did want to tell you, Bill, before we go, is that with Ant Farm Dickhole and Ass Monster, what I saw outside of, a dude fucking a car in a house was was you having fun making movies. And that's what came through to me.
100% fun. 100% fun.
Yeah, and it reminded me of when I was able time-wise to make movies and just, getting friends and people to do these crazy things in front of the camera and then going and trying to edit it together and make something out of it. And so I really enjoyed that. And those two films, and I know you said you didn't enjoy Dickless Zombies, but I enjoyed it. And it kind of made, filmmaking for the joy of filmmaking, which you reiterated here several times on the episode, and there's nothing not to like about that. So,
well, let me tell you something to inspire people. People have told me that I inspired them to go to film school or to even make movies. 'Cause I guess, it's a backhanded compliment. Like, if someone that terrible can live off making movies, I can't. But you said you don't have time. One of the things I learned when I went to a training school called the Chubb Institute, it's not a fat farm. It's, they teach you IT, whether it's like networking or tech support, whatever, programming, and they really cram it. And one of the first things they taught is that you have much more time than you think you do. So maybe stop looking at things like, oh, I need 5 hours to do this. Like, do it in a minute at a time.
Yeah.
So I always combine things. If I'm doing something boring, like sitting in a jail cell, I will, write. But yeah, think about life differently. You probably can find a lot of time that you didn't know was there. You didn't look for it. You didn't realize you do have time, and only use what you have. Like right now, I have $3,000 lenses. You might not know it from what you see on screen, but I didn't halt any production waiting to get stuff. I only used what I had. And I can't say that enough. Like, I stopped advising people how to make movies because I found out that everyone I know who succeeded has just done them and known that it was probably going to be a big nothing at the end. But they did it. The people who succeed aren't smarter than you or more talented. They just do instead of talking about doing. And so that's what I want to tell people. Like, yeah, I probably don't have a retirement plan other than get a gun and shoot myself. But at least for now, I'm able to live and still make these movies and have a lot of fun making them and meeting people who like them. That's always fun. But yeah, Indianapolis, I'll let you know which convention I will choose for the next year. And
all right,
I might even, so you'll break your horror convention cherry.
Yes, with you.
And Indianapolis is a good place.
Good. Well, thanks again, Bill. And thanks, everyone, for listening.
All right, toodles.
Be safe. Have fun.